If you didn't watch Texas, Oklahoma yesterday, don't. I watched it so you don't have to. Picture this. It's going to be weird. I just need you to go with me on it. Picture you and 21 of your friends, okay? Just picture you and 21 of your friends. You want to do something a little different. So you guys go and you break into a morgue. You heard me right. And you go and you just yank a body bag off the shelf. And this is where it gets really interesting. You just start beating on the body bag. And 1 hour goes by and you don't stop. 2 hours go by, still beating. And about 3 hours, 15 minutes go into it. And then all of a sudden you feel like we've done enough here. Let's stop beating on the body bag. Let's just go get lunch. Then you guys leave. That is my summary of the Texas-Oklahoma game yesterday. Completely lifeless. That was Oklahoma, and Texas took great pleasure and pride in beating on the body bag for about 3 to 3.5 hours. 49-0 is the final score. It was probably even worse than the score sounds. I'll get to Oklahoma in a second. I know you guys have been talking. I do have some thoughts on Brent Venables, the future of the program, etc., but you know the rule here. We talk about winners first, so Oklahoma's got to wait. I had a lot of folks come at me last week, including some OU fans, and you asked me, how could we still have Texas in the top 10 of the JP poll? They've got 2 losses. That's how. Did you watch them yesterday? That's how. The reason is because as of this point moving forward, they're a top 10 caliber team. Why? Because as of this point moving forward, they got Quinn Ewers as their quarterback. Did you find yourself, if you did watch this atrocity yesterday in real time, did you find yourself when Texas was up 21-0 thinking about the fact that they had lost a game or two? When they were up 35-0, did Texas's 2 losses enter your mind at all? Of course they didn't. You know why? They didn't matter yesterday. Nor will they matter moving forward, because what they did without their starting quarterback does not impact the caliber of team they are with their starting quarterback. It matters in the standings. It matters in the playoff race, and I'm not suggesting otherwise. But in the power rating world or in the Vegas odds-making world, they're talking about the here and now. And in the here and now, Texas does have 2 losses, true enough. I think they're one of the 10 best teams in the country, and I took a sneak peek at what the JP poll thinks. I would suggest they're moving up from that number 10 spot tomorrow night or Tuesday night, but we'll get there when we get there. Texas was up 28-0 at the half, okay? So where was I? Man, my mic is acting up. There we go. Okay, it's back. Texas is up 28-0 at the half yesterday. And I was at this game last year when it was like 28-3 or something like that. And I remember there being some uneasiness in the Cotton Bowl, and a lot of longtime Texas observers or just longtime observers of the game said, hey, this isn't over. And I understood what they were saying. Of course, they ended up being right. That was prophetic because Oklahoma came back to win outright. Well, I've got some Longhorn fans that suffer from what I guess we could call battered horn syndrome. I had some Texas buddies when this was 28-0 at the half yesterday, texting me back and forth saying, we got to be careful now. Can't let our guard down. This thing's not over. And I was like, what? They could play to Wednesday and Oklahoma's not scoring 28 points. Are you crazy? And they put up a goose egg. So a shutout pitched on behalf of the Texas defense. Oklahoma is a bad to horrific team right now. Here is all you need to know. Well, really, the final score is all you need to know. But how about this? Total yards, 585 to 195. Texas, violence. Third downs, Texas, 10 of 15. OU, 3 of 15. Texas, violence. Passing yardage, 289 to 39. That's not a typo. That's not Celsius versus Fahrenheit. That's just what the actual box score said. Texas, violence. Red zone efficiency, Texas, 6 of 7. OU, 0 of 2. Texas, violence. Texas and violence were really the only 2 words you needed to know about this game yesterday. Padlock stat, pretty much the entire stat sheet. So I didn't really feel like narrowing it down to one. Texas is a very good team, okay? Texas is in the Big 12, so like every game they play is going to feature a team that they're capable of beating or is capable of beating them. And I know sometimes people tell you the lie that on any given Saturday, any team can beat anyone. Well, that's not true. We get upsets on every given Saturday, but any given Saturday is a lie, except in the Big 12. where it really is more like a pro feel, where any given Saturday is like any given Sunday, any team can beat anyone. Oklahoma's defense, the last 3 games, has given up an average of 48.3 points per game. Oklahoma's defense over the last 3 games has given up an average of 310 rushing yards per game. And Oklahoma's defense over the past 3 games has given up 12 rushing touchdowns. It's a bad time for the 2022 version of the Oklahoma Sooners. I'm not here to suggest otherwise. I have eyes. I have a functioning television. I know I'm watching the same thing that you guys are. There are 2 very starkly divided camps out there right now on Brent Venables. Camp A says Brent Venables just needs more time, and Camp B says this was a bad hire. Where's the dump button? And I'm just saying that I think it's impossible to know right now. I think, for example, this season is totaled. Oklahoma's 2022 football team is a totaled product. There's no resuscitating it. There's no fixing it. In my mind, there's no real bringing it back. There's nothing they can do at this point. The greatest coach in the history of mankind probably wouldn't salvage this version of Oklahoma. But if I took a totaled car into the shop, you could be the best mechanic in the world or the worst mechanic in the world. I wouldn't be able to tell because there's nothing either of you can do with this particular automobile because it's totaled. So Brent Venables may be the right guy for the job. He may be the wrong guy for the job. I'm not telling either of you you're wrong. I'm just telling you this particular version of Oklahoma is doomed to fail. For all I know, it always did have terminal flaws. I'm not ready to give you an opinion on that. I'm ready to say, and dare I take the bold stance, that I want to give a guy a little bit more than 6 or 7 months before I decide whether he's a disaster of a hire or whether 2022 will be looked on 5 years from now when he's got Oklahoma rolling, 3 years from now, 2 years from now when he's got Oklahoma rolling, and we laugh at it. I don't know which direction we're going to go. I just don't think there's this magic crystal ball out there that everyone but me has access to where they know definitively on this thing. Just give it a year. Please just give it a year. Let's land another recruiting class. They haven't fallen off a cliff in that department. Landed a good one last year. They're going to land a good one this cycle. So I'm willing to give it time, but I can also tell you this season's a disaster and it's unacceptable. I can do both of those things. So that's where I am with Oklahoma. Texas, meanwhile, remember Bo Davis's little rant on that darkened bus last year? Did you notice what he said back then and the attitude he wanted Texas to have that they didn't have? And did you see the way the offensive line played yesterday? You know, that offensive line was supposed to be a weakness for Texas. If you go back to the spring, if you go back to fall camp, even insiders very close to the team. You're talking about multiple true freshmen having to play, multiple true freshmen in the 2 deep. Well, here's what was probably underconsidered by people including myself. Those true freshmen may have walked on campus and been better than anyone they had. And that's the case, especially at left tackle. That's the case. I've talked to some folks close to Texas, and they said, hey, Banks walked on campus, and within about 20 minutes, we knew he's the best offensive lineman we got. He's a true freshman. That kid was in high school. He was walking the hallways of a high school in Texas this time last year. They're good, and they're getting better. They can win the Big 12. I'm going to talk about the status of the Big 12 in a little while. That's a good team. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Make sure you like the video, and please subscribe to the channel. Not just for me. That's how we keep this entire thing free.